Welcome along to Matchday Live here from King Power Stadium for Leicester City's first game of 2023. High-flying Fulham are the visitors on Filbert Way in what promises to be a cracking game to start off this new year. And with all our team news, our commentator this evening is John Dunn.
Dan, two changes for the Foxes. Patson Daka ruled out due to injury. He's replaced by Jamie Vardy as he was at Anfield a few days ago. The other change sees Wilfred and Ndidi move back to the bench. Yuri Tillemans is in for him. Danny Ward in goal. A defence of Timothy Castagna, Daniel Amati, Wout Faes and Luke Thomas. In midfield is Yuri Tillemans alongside Bouba Samare and Keenan Dewsbury Hall. And up front, Harvey Barnes and Jose Perez looking to support Jamie Vardy. On the bench for the Foxes, Daniel Everson, Kaglar Soyuncu, Mark Albrighton, Kelechi Iheanacho, Yannick Vestergaard, Papi Mendy, Wilfred Ndidi, Lewis Brunt and Casey McAteer. One change for tonight's visitors following their 2-1 home win against Southampton sees Issa Diop move to the bench. Tosin Adarabioyo comes in for him, so it's Bert Leno in goal, and in the defence is Kene Tete alongside Adarabioyo and Tim Ream and Anthony Robinson. Harrison Reed and João Palhinha in midfield. In front of them it's Bobby Decordova-Reid, Andreas Pereira and William. Up front it's their leading goal scorer Alexander Mitrovic. The Fulham bench, Marek Rodak, Layvin Kozala, Harry Wilson, Tom Kearney, Mana Solomon, Nathaniel Chalabar, Daniel James, Carlos Vinicius and Issa Diop.
Thank you very much, John. Yes, we'll hear from you just before kick-off. But first, we've got to introduce our guests who are, one in the studio with me and one via Zoom. Matt Elliott, good evening and Happy New Year. I know we said that to each other yesterday, didn't we, on Extra Time? But we can do it for those Matchday Live viewers today.
Matt,
so
yeah,
Happy New Year to you and, of course,
you,
to everybody tuned in this evening. You had a nice one, didn't you, New Year's Eve?
Nice. I wouldn't necessarily describe it as that, Batesy.
No.
You know what it's like on a night out with me, on a especially New Year's Eve. But no, it wasn't that wild. I'm jesting. But yeah, it was pleasant enough, mate.
Good.
But onwards and upwards into the new year.
And Tony Cottee, welcome along. Good evening. We'd not spoken in months, had we, until last night, and now it's two nights in a row. So yeah, good evening to you as well. I'm sure you're pleased to be back again to preview this game with Fulham.
Yeah, absolutely, Dan. Yeah, I mean, I hadn't spoken to you, as you quite rightly say, for a while, and enjoyed the World Cup and back in the Premier League groove now. And yeah, twice in 2 nights, Dan. So yeah, looking forward to the game and Happy New Year to everyone who's tuned in.
Yeah, Happy New Year to you as well, Tony. Before we go any further, during this festive period, across this run of games that Leicester have had since just before Christmas, they've been making a concerted effort to help those in need. For the Boxing Day game against Newcastle, a monetary donation was made to food banks in Newcastle. The same will be done this evening for food banks in communities that need it in London. And for the away games, Leicester fans have deposited actual donations of food to the food banks in cities of those games. So physical food donations were made before December's trip to MK Dons, and then of course for that Liverpool game as well just before New Year, which yet again sums up another great initiative that the club are doing at the moment. Right, we've got to plenty to get through here on Matchday Live this evening, including looking back at that game on Friday evening just before New Year against Liverpool. It started so well, didn't it, with that fantastic Keenan Dewsbury Hall goal, but we'll get into what happened after that coming up. We'll also look at some classic goals scored against Fulham. And we'll hear, of course, from Brendan Rodgers, who spoke after the game at Anfield, previewing this game with Fulham as well. Matt, I know obviously we got through a lot, didn't we, last night on Extra Time. We spoke a lot in depth about that Liverpool game and in depth about the game tonight. And actually, it's quite a big game, isn't it? This one. It's important that Leicester start the new year off well.
Yeah, that in itself, but also on the back of 2 defeats, isn't it? And different performances in both those games. Newcastle, as everyone knows by now, Leicester really underperformed, didn't get out the traps, were out of the game before they got a chance to start it pretty much. Newcastle very impressive, so that made it tough against Liverpool at Anfield. You thought of all the teams you don't want to play, it was them. Fortunately, they weren't at the top of their game themselves, and Leicester made good inroads early on, didn't they? And grew drew a bit of confidence from that as well. And I thought, it was a reasonable performance, and much has been said about frustration, disappointment, and not to get anything out of the game, and it's justified as well. But all said and done, 2 games played over the Christmas period, and no points gained. So need to pick them up pretty quickly. And tonight, being a decent opportunity, I don't think it's it's far from a given. Leicester at home to Fulham in any circumstances, but particularly this season. Both the clubs have had differing fortunes up to now. But Leicester, they can be infused by the way they perform against Liverpool, I think, because Newcastle was hugely negative, wasn't it? And it was slightly worrying. You thought, hang on a minute, have they reverted back to the early season form? But Liverpool showed that would just be short-lived, and hopefully you'll see reinforcement of that again tonight, because they're going to have to be on their mettle, because Fulham are a more than decent side these days.
Well, that's a good point that Matt makes there, Tony, isn't it? That maybe in the past you'd have looked at this, certainly in the last couple of seasons, that Fulham were in the Premier League and thought, nice home game against Fulham, just what you need after a couple of defeats. But you look at this Fulham side now, and that actually isn't the case, is it?
No, it's not, Dan. And I mean, up until last night, we saw a fantastic result for Brentford, beating Liverpool last night, who actually went above Fulham. But before the game kicked off, Fulham were sitting nicely in 7th place. And, having just got promoted, it's not a position, I think, if you'd have sort of said at the start of the season, where do you expect Fulham to be? You wouldn't have expected them to be sitting in 7th position going into the new year. They've obviously improved on their experiences of a couple of years ago, where they was very hit and miss and pretty much went straight back down. But this is a decent Fulham team, got a good manager, they're well organised, and that's going to make it a difficult game for Leicester. But the one thing I would say is I think, Matt just spoke about the 2 Christmas games there. I do think that as a player, and more importantly as a fan, I think you sort of, once it goes into a new year, once you go from 2022 to 2023, it might sound a bit simplistic, but you do start to think to yourself, I'm looking forward to the first home game of the new year, and perhaps it's going to be a good year, a different year, etc. And we all know it was a difficult start to the season for the club. So I think there'll be a lot of optimism from the Leicester fans coming to the game tonight, but without getting too carried away, because as we've already said, this is a decent Fulham team.
Yeah, 2022 ended with that trip then to Anfield the day before New Year's Eve. It starts this evening with a game against Fulham. But first, let's take a look back at the highlights from that game at Anfield.
Anfield welcomes Liverpool and Leicester City as both teams get set to play out their final game of this calendar year. For the hosts, their first home game in 7 weeks, while Leicester will look to shake off their Boxing Day blues and continue the form. Dewsbury Hall breaking after a layoff from Daka, and all of a sudden Dewsbury Hall is in. Is it on goal? Is in the area, and he has scored for Leicester City. What a moment for Dewsbury Hall, linking up with Daka, and just drove into the penalty area. The space opened up for him, and he was grateful to take the opportunity. Harvey Elliott dispossesses him before Oxlade-Chamberlain drops one over the top. Núñez chases down the left-hand side. His first touch takes him away from back pass into the penalty area towards Mo Salah, just slightly behind him. A snapshot that's wide of Danny Ward's goal. We mentioned it was end-to-end, and that was very much one end of the field to the other. The team in red, and Henderson curling one out to the right side. Alexander-Arnold, a low ball in, Wout Faes went for it. It's gone in! Danny Ward was ready to claim it. Wout Faes sliding in at the near post. It's looped up into the air. For a moment thought Leicester had got away with it, but it's dropped into the back of the net. In this first half, there's a chance here as the ball breaks kindly, and it's Darwin Núñez who's chipped Ward off the post. It's another own goal by Wout Faes as it's come back off the post. The Belgium international couldn't react quick enough. He's almost on the goal line, and he sent it into the top corner. Vardy has just got in behind, first time to Harvey Barnes. It's come back off the bar, the flag is raised. It wouldn't have counted anyway, potentially Vardy coming offside initially. He squared it across into the 18-yard area. Harvey Barnes took it first time, cannons off the bar, and relief as the flag is raised.
a tale maybe, Tony, of what could have been at Anfield, of course, on Friday evening. It started so well, didn't it, with that fantastically taken Kiernan Dewsbury Hall goal, but after that we all know what happened, obviously, with the 2 own goals.
Yeah, and I think what's interesting, Dan, with the clips that we've shown there, I mean, obviously you first and foremost see a wonderful goal from Dewsbury Hall, really, really fantastic team goal. It's great the way it opens up for him. We spoke about it last night. It just seemed to get a little bit stuck under his feet, but by sort of almost getting in advance of the ball, it sort of left him with the option of prodding it into the ground to get it over Alisson. And you see, I mean, there's so many Liverpool defenders, but there's a gaping hole in the middle there. But it had come from a goal kick, lovely little flick from Daka there. There he goes, everything opens up, and you watch, he just prods it into the ground, which is enough to get it over the goalkeeper. And probably see it better from this angle. He pushes it into the ground. It's actually a good skill. If you can do it deliberately, it's a really good skill and a good way of beating the goalkeeper. But what I was going to say, after that goal, the only sort of real chance we see from Liverpool was that little clip where you see Núñez go down the line, cuts it back to Salah, and Salah puts it wide. But beyond that, Liverpool didn't create anything. They didn't really look like scoring. So to concede the own goal was, and then of course, the second one just before half-time was a bitter disappointment for everyone.
Yeah, that just adds, doesn't it, Matt, to the frustration, to the disappointment, because Leicester was certainly for the first half the better team in the game, and then had moments in the second that could have led to goals. Yeah,
they did. The start of the second half, Liverpool sort of drew a bit of confidence from receiving that present that Fast produced, but presents, should I say. But other than that, they weren't at the races really, Liverpool, and they were there to be sort of taken advantage of. And Leicester did that to a certain degree, not in the areas it really mattered. But having taken the lead, all of a sudden you thought, hang on a sec, something special could be happening here, because you didn't foresee it after the Newcastle game, but then you realise Liverpool's play was off generally. Their passing wasn't crisp, it was wayward, it was getting cut out on switches, cross-field switches. They were striking the ball wrong, their movement wasn't flowing, they just didn't look confident at all. And if ever you were going to get a result at Anfield, this was it, having taken the lead. Unfortunately, it didn't materialise that way, did it? Well, yeah, then the first of the 2 own goals came. There's elements of, you have to feel sorry for him, obviously, with both, with what happened with both. And this first one in particular is just purely just so unlucky, isn't it? He's sticking a foot out, and how it ends up where it ends up. Yeah, I probably lean towards more blame being apportioned on this one, to be honest. I know it's amazingly unfortunate, don't get me wrong, but if you're taking the responsibility to make a clearance, you've got to make sure you get enough contact on it. Danny Ward, giving him a boost there. He was probably annoyed initially, frustrated, thinking, because he did shout for it, how early it was or not is debatable, I don't know. But obviously disappointment there, all round. But you go for that clearance, you've got to do better than that. You've got to detract the risk element of it being unlucky. You've got to get enough contact on it. But having said that, it was semi-freakish, wasn't it? I got a semi in there, by the way. Well done. The first of the new, your resolution's not lasted very long. Yeah, but it was extremely harsh, and people are. I mean, Tony mentioned it last night about centre forwards being more reactive, and it is true generally. But I think everyone was just sort of watching the flight of the ball, thinking, where's that going to go? It's more than likely. It looks like it's going to end up on the top of the net, perhaps clip the bar and go behind. Oh, hang on a sec, it's dipped in. No one, from that angle, it was 1 in 1,000 really, wasn't it? But it just wasn't Wout Fass's night, but at the same time could have helped himself.
Then the second one, might as well come to you, Tony. I was going to speak to the defender on it, but Darwin Núñez firstly obviously does well from a forwards point of view, doesn't he? Doesn't quite get the finish right, and then Fass is just, again, it's unlucky. What do you make of it?
Yeah, it's one of those ones. You initially think he's unlucky. I mean, it's good skill from Núñez to get it over the keeper, and he just doesn't adjust his feet. And I made the point, Matt touched on it there last night. I think forwards in general, you're expecting the ball to hit the post, and I think it's, in a way, it's almost like he doesn't expect it to hit the post, and then because he has a little stop, you watch, he stops in a minute, just a little stop, sort of stops there, thinking it's going in, And then he then realises it might not be going in. And by the time he's done that, it almost gets him into a position where he's not got to where I still think he could do better. He could take a touch maybe. He could try and side foot it away. He could even try a ridiculous flick to get the ball, anything. But it doesn't matter how stupid or whatever it looks, just don't put it in your own net. And of course, with the ball going in the back of the net, I just think he could have reacted a little bit better. Whether that first own goal was playing on his mind, Dan, I'm pretty certain it would have been. Perhaps he was still, because you do as a player, if you make a horrendous mistake, in my case, say I miss an open goal, you can't say it doesn't play on your mind. Of course it does, but you've got to try and put it to the back of your mind and concentrate and get ready for the next one, because you know the next one's coming along. And the same with this sort of error, if you like, from Fass. Once you've made the first error, be ready, because if you're in a position, you cannot make a second error, and unfortunately he did.
I just think, just quickly on the back of that, Tony says there, the key to that is, listen, again, it's highly unfortunate, and it possibly won't happen again in his career. But you're going to be in, I nearly said semi again then, some similar-ish situations throughout different stages. But Tony's right there. He looked as if he didn't expect it to hit the post. But that's the only scenario where he can actually affect things, if it does hit the post. So other than that, there wasn't much point chasing it in, because it was either going wide or in. But you've got to chase it back, expecting it to hit the post, and be ready to react. And it caught him by surprise. We saw the result. We'll
hear from one of his defensive colleagues, Luke Thomas, in just a moment. But very quickly before we do, I don't want it to feel like we've spent the last 5 minutes, slagging Wout Fass off, because that's not what we're doing. But he has been really good since he's come in, quite late in the summer transfer window, came in, and he's made a real difference, hasn't he, as the club turned round their fortunes last year.
Oh, without a doubt, yeah. And I'm not trying to be too critical at all. It's just that in those two isolated incidents, it didn't come off for him, did it? And in very unspectacular fashion, and had a big effect. But listen, generally, he's a good player. You can see that the second he came out onto the pitch. Against Tottenham, even he looked decent straight away. Okay, conceded a lot of goals, but he's been impressive, and I met him before he even kicked the ball on the field of play, and you could tell he's got something about him. He's got an understated confidence, and he plays that way. He's quite aggressive. He's got a bit of leadership qualities about him. No little ability, and he's still relatively young as well. Just sort of learned the game a little bit more, which is natural for his age. But lots of qualities. I've got no doubts about him long term. It's just like any player, but particularly centre halves coming into the group, just got sort of just a few fine edges. They just maybe fine tune certain areas of his game, but he's got the basics.
Yeah, for those of you that are maybe about to set off and come to King Power Stadium this evening, he is on the front of the programme, and he's done a really nice interview where he talks a lot about that leadership that Matt's been talking about, and what he's like.
Me, sorry.
And what he's like on the pitch. So it's a good read if you can pick up the programme this evening. Let's hear though from one of his teammates, Luke Thomas, who spoke after the game at Anfield to look ahead to this one with Fulham.
So Luke, next up, this busy festive period is Fulham at home. What are you expecting from them? A newly promoted side, but they've settled into the league quite well.
Yeah, they have. They're doing well so far this season. They're getting results, and they look quite a strong side. We know it will be a challenge, and we'll look to get 3 points in the first week of 2023.
Yeah, I was going to say that. How important is it to look at the calendar year and look to kind of build from the first few days in the month?
Yeah, definitely. It's like a fresh start, I suppose. New year, and hopefully we can get 3 points.
Obviously, the last home game was one against Newcastle, which was disappointing at the time. How keen are the players to get back in front of the home crowd and put in a performance that is more worthy of what you've been doing this season?
Yeah, definitely. I think we owe them one. After the result against Newcastle, we weren't at it at all. So we'll go out there on Tuesday and hopefully play our game and get a result.
Just one home defeat in the last 5, so trying to prove that Newcastle was a blip, I suppose, and getting back to that form just before the World Cup break.
Yeah, I think we were in great form. We hadn't lost for 7 games, I don't think it was, and we hadn't conceded many goals at all. So we'll look to get back to that, and hopefully we can do that.
And on Fulham, they're kind of in and around where we are in the table, so it kind of put a bit more incentive on the game as well to try and get above them.
Yeah, that's the target, I think, for us, is to try and climb as high in the table as we possibly can throughout the second half of the season. And we'll look to do that and hopefully start there against Fulham.
And in terms of their threats, the obvious one is Mitrovic, which all the defenders will be looking at. But have you pinpointed any other threats that they will bring to the game?
We'll look at that over the next few days. We'll get back into training and obviously look at their players. We know them ourselves as players. Everyone knows each other, so you know the strengths that they've got, and we'll look at that and look to stop that.
That was Luke Thomas there speaking after the defeat at Anfield. Tony, interesting to hear what he was saying though about before the World Cup break, because Leicester had gone on that really good run, hadn't they? They'd not conceded many goals. They'd been winning games again. They'd looked a lot more resolute, and it's nice to hear that the players still recognise that and still know that that's where they were and that's where they can get back to.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was no one's fault, no one's choice about the World Cup, Dan. I think the players that went and played in it obviously had a great time and enjoyed it, but you almost felt sorry for the players. Someone like Luke Thomas, for example, left behind and thinking, I'm in good form, the team's in good form, and all of a sudden there's this World Cup in the middle of the season. But we all knew it was coming. We've known it's been coming for 12 years, and it's just a great shame that Leicester, after the sort of disastrous start to the season, they pulled themselves together. They went on a great run of form. Everything was going well, and then you get a 6 or 7 week break. No one's fault, but it's happened. And then to so underperform against Newcastle, the players must have really been scratching their heads, individually and as a team as well. But I think they went some way to putting that right against Liverpool. There certainly was enough in that performance. The performance I watched on Friday night, there was enough desire and quality, for me to lead myself to believe that there's going to be a good performance put in tonight. I think, as Luke touched on there, it's a new year, a new start. And, I said it earlier, you look forward to that. You draw the line. 2022's done. Let's move on. It's a new year. Let's get 3 points.
Yeah, we're moving on and we're looking ahead to a new year, but we're going to look back now at some classic goals that have been scored against Fulham, including a very good Walshy one as well.
That was Worthington, and here's Glover. Oh, yes! What a fine goal. Mellor could do nothing about that one.
Lineker. And now Wilson.
And he scored for Leicester.
Well, it's a goal. They threatened to get once or twice in the first half, but they haven't really caused Fulham any real problems in the second until now.
Walsh is forward now. Chance here! 2-1! Marshall! The Cubs' eye is alive again. Ian Marshall with a tumbling finish as Leicester sent the artillery forward. Taggart. Aimed at Marshall. Chance! 2-2! Steve Walsh! What symmetry, what joy, what relief! Boy, he feels better now!
James pushes it forward to Vardy. Jamie Vardy's legs are key now. Vardy sets up Nugent into the box. Surely not. Nugent squares it. Dying goal! Lloyd Dyer's done it for Leicester in the dying minutes, and the League Cup once more for the Foxes. He's going to bear some quarter-final fruit.
Down the edge of that technical area. In fact, he's almost on the pitch at the moment. They've given the ball away. Maddison looking for Vardy. Vardy is in behind. He's on the right side of the 18-yard area. Jamie Vardy has scored. 99 not out, Jamie Vardy, and he has given Leicester the lead again here at King Power Stadium. Barnes has latched on to a Fulham-headed clearance. It's come his way. Barnes tees up Vardy, left-footed, and that is 100 goals for Jamie Vardy in a Leicester City shirt. Didn't need power, it just needed accuracy, and it's into the bottom corner of the goal.
We'll very quickly talk about that League Cup game, because that was a classic, wasn't it? On the way to winning it, of course.
It's a good job Walsh is not in the studio. It wouldn't be a quick conversation, would it? But yeah, to be fair, Walsh needed to make amends, because it didn't show in the clips there. He gave away a horror pass, which Fulham ended up scoring. I think that made it 2-0. And we looked, even though it was only the first half, we looked out of it, done and dusted, because we weren't playing well. But in typical fashion, old smash and grab, TC, you remember them together in training?
Yeah, I was injured that day, Matt. I didn't play. I remember watching it from the stands. I was injured, but it was a great game. What a finish from Walsh, amazing finish, fantastic.
Smashed it, didn't he?
It's probably a good job at the end that Tony was injured, because by the looks of things, it was you, Walshy, and Marshy up front. So he's literally just booting the ball forward. Isn't it?
It came to that. He sort of tagged his cultured hoof up the park, and then it's either me, Marshy, or Walshy getting on the end of it to whoever else it fell to. But thankfully, he scraped through. I think we got through on penalties. I know you said quickly, but I think Fulham missed all 3 of theirs or something. We only took 3. I was due to take the 4th one, but I didn't need to, thankfully. And Robbie Savage took great delight in winding up Jeff Horsfield, who was a bit of a handful back then, and he missed the penalty. Sav let him know. Sav scored, and he chased Sav off the pitch. And later on, they ended up as teammates at Birmingham. I'd love to have been in the dressing room when that happened.
It wasn't a cultured hoof from Jerry. It was a pinpoint 40-yard
Is that what
pass,
it was?
by the way. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, the wand was out, was it?
Let's move on then, and let's concentrate on tonight's visitors, Fulham, who've been absolutely flying this season, and we can hear from their manager, Marco Silva, as well as journalist Peter Rutzler. In Fulham's last 2 Premier League campaigns, they only managed 26 and 28 points and were relegated comfortably both seasons. Fast forward to the present though, under Marco Silva, they're 8th with 25 points already on the board.
This is what we are trying to do every time, to be as more competitive we can, try to keep improving our players, our group of players, collectively and individually as well, and this is our aim really. It's not to compare anything. We know that we have to do much better. We knew it in the beginning of the season. If you want to be at this level, if you want to play against the best teams in the world, and if you want to play the best and the most difficult competition in the world, you have to do completely different things. And we are pleased the way we are doing, of course, but as you said, you are just in the middle of the season. Of course, we are pleased with the points that we achieve right now. The position on the table will be a consequence always from the points, but of course, as a points, we are really pleased because we achieved that number of points until now. Performance-wise, I think we are doing really well as well, and that's it. We have to keep going, keep the feet on the ground, and prepare the next match, like the most important one for us. It's something that we have been doing so far since we joined this football club.
Well, it starts with the manager, I think, and the appointment of Marco Silva. Last season in the Championship, Fulham sort of made light work of what is a notoriously difficult division. Won the title for the first time, but did so with a clear playing style, scoring lots of goals, more than 100 goals. Of course, Aleksandar Mitrovic was at the heart of that. But what Silva's done is he's brought the best out of a good squad. Mitrovic is the obvious example. We've seen his goal-scoring form, Championship, now the Premier League, really showing what he's capable of. But he's just sort of the tip of the iceberg, really, because you can go through the whole team.
The headlines both this and last season have been with forward Aleksandar Mitrovic. Interestingly, the Serbian has failed to score against Leicester, though, in his 7 games versus the Foxes. His record since the start of last season is outstanding, though, with 53 goals in 58 games.
Now, obviously his goals are important, but he drops deeper, he links the play, he brings others into play. And I think that side to his game is slowly being recognised a little bit more as well. Because Fulham are built for him to score, but they're also built in a way that wants to get the most out of a target forward. And he is that. He's brilliant in the air. His hold-up play is fantastic. But he can also play a good pass. He can also drop into spaces very well. He has that knack in the penalty area of being in the right place at the right time. And he's essential to Fulham. He is Fulham. He's a club legend really now. And his goals will be key to their survival. And you need that really in the Premier League. You need a goal scorer. You need someone who you can rely on to take a chance. And he's done that and he's doing that. And it's good. It's pleasing for him, I think, to finally have a platform to show what he's capable of.
We spoke, Tony, didn't we, earlier about Fulham and about how they've really turned things round. As we heard in that package there, they didn't make 30 points in either of their last 2 Premier League campaigns, yet they're now, 5 points off that mark now, and have played less than half their games. It's staggering, really, how good they've been this season compared to previous campaigns.
Yeah, it's an incredible achievement by them, really. And there would have been quite a few of the players that would have participated in the season a couple of years ago where it didn't work. I think the season before they spent something like 100 million or something for them, really threw a lot of money at it, and still were really poor. So it's not been easy for Fulham. It's a fantastic football club, very scenic football club, sitting on the River Thames, etc. And it's a really well-run football club, and they've not found it easy to spend too many years in the top flight all throughout their history. So to be in the position they're in, that is a really good achievement. But they still can't rest on their laurels. Fulham, I know they've got 25 points. We said I think it is. They can't sit on that, because we have seen teams at this stage of the season before, the great start, fade away, that only win 2 or 3 games and get relegated. So they'll be keen to get to 40 points as quick as possible. They've got some really good players, talented players. And, of course, up front, they've got someone I'm a big fan of, Alexander Mitrovic. Did I really hear right that he's never scored against Leicester, Dan? I think did they? That's the last thing you really want to hear, isn't it? Because sooner or later he's going to do that. But I'm a big fan of Mitrovic. Let's hope that little run continues though tonight.
And that record, Tony, as well, was 53 goals in 57 games since the start of last season. That's unbelievably good.
It's incredibly good. And all right, the cynics will turn around and say, well, yeah, he was playing in the Championship, but you try scoring goals in the Championship, that's not easy. There's some good players in the Championship, some good teams, very competitive, and to get over 40 goals in a season, league goals, is an amazing achievement by any player. And I think as a forward, Dan, in general, you look to if you're scoring a goal every 2 games, I think you're playing well and you're doing well. In other words, if you play 50 games in the season, you get 25 goals, you've had a very good season. But to be 53 and 58, I mean, over the course of the last year, there's probably not been too many players to touch him. Haaland's doing well now, but he's only been about 4 or 5 months. Excuse me, and there's not really anyone I can think off the top of my head who can consistently say that they've been banging the goals in, week after week. He's been fantastic for Fulham, he really has.
Yeah, he's obviously, Matt, been key as well this season to this fantastic run that they're on. Even you look at the last 5 games as well, things are going really well. He didn't score in the win against Southampton. He missed a penalty in that one, but that didn't matter. Fulham still did enough to get the 3 points, and that's maybe what they've done a lot more this season that they've never done previously, or certainly haven't in the last 2 seasons.
Yeah, I think along with the acquisition of certain key players there, they've got quite a bit of experience in the team, really. But there's a good blend, there's a good mix of sort of different types of players. They can cause you problems in numerous ways, but he is the talisman, without a doubt. He's the focal point, as Tony mentions there, and not just for his goal scoring, a little bit of his personality as well, his character on the pitch as well, quite aggressive, and he's sort of up and at 'em. And that seems to transfer itself to not just the players, but supporters as well. There's a bit more belief, generally, it seems, at Fulham this year. The manager assists with that. It's an accumulative effect, of course, but Mitrovic gives them, they could be playing averagely and not really firing, but they know if they can hang in a game, they know he can pull something out of nothing for them if they give him any sort of service. So yeah, he's a great player for them to have, and they've got that genuine belief in him as well, because he's done it over a sustained period of time, hasn't he? And
seeing that current form as well, you never knew what might have happened to Fulham when the break came, if that came at a really bad time. They've come back and they've won their 2 Premier League games since the resumption of the Premier League.
Yeah, I mean, does it affect teams in other ways, or is that the way it was going to be anyway? We don't know. We'll never quite be able to pinpoint exactly how much of a difference that break makes, because that doesn't seem to be following any real pattern. I don't know. I know a lot of the teams the top teams have had poor results, slightly surprising results, defeats, stroke draws. Is that because a lot of their players were at the World Cup? Possibly, but you look at other teams, and okay, they might not have had too many players involved, but Newcastle started bright and strong, didn't they? And I don't know. There's arguments for and against in that respect, but either, whichever way you look at it, Fulham have picked up two wins in 2, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, and relatively comfortable as well. And you look at them, and I don't know, they're sort of team. I think it's going to be a good match-up because I think they're on a similar level to Leicester. Obviously, it's slightly above at the moment in terms of their points tally, but just generally, I think there's quite a good match-up for the two teams in terms of styles, ability, maybe depth of squad as well. Leicester will be slightly disappointed probably to hear that because they're looking to be above Fulham over the long haul, but at this moment in time, it's a real good match-up and all the makings of a good game.
I believe Jerry Taggart's ears were burning a little bit earlier when we were talking about his pass against Fulham in that League Cup game. His hoof against Fulham in that League Cup game. You're on co-commentary duty tonight, Jerry. How are you? Happy New Year.
Yeah, Happy New Year, Dan. Yeah, I'm good, thanks. I'm just about to watch it on the big screen. Oh, beautiful ball under the head of Marshall for Steve Walsh to finish in nonchalant style. Yeah, I'm good. I'm good, Dan.
We knew it would be pinpoint, didn't we?
Bound to hit one of them.
What are you expecting tonight, Jerry? We'll talk about Leicester in a moment, but obviously we've been discussing Fulham, this fantastic run that they're on this season, the fantastic striker that they've got. Firstly, as a defender yourself, how difficult do you think he would be to play against?
No, he's not easy. He's a big, strong, physical sort. He's not going to run away from you, that's for sure, but he has got good movement when the ball is in wide areas especially, so that's one key area they need to look out for, is his movement off the ball when the ball is in wide areas especially, because he loves to attack the ball aerially. He's not somebody that is that common as a centre forward in the Premier League in the modern game, so it's a different kind of problem for the centre halves to deal with this evening, and we all know he can finish. His record speaks for itself in recent times. Yes, he's had a couple of hard seasons in the Premier League, but last season and this season, you've got to say that he well and truly knows where the back of the net is, and he's ably assisted by the likes of Pereira, Willian, De Cordova-Reid, and one or two others up there as well. Paulinho as well, good player. So he's got a lot of firepower to work off this evening, Mitrovic. So the players have to be very, very wary of him.
If you were Brendan Rodgers, Jerry, what would you be saying to Wout Faes then and Daniel Amati? Would it be one of you stick on him all evening, or do you play it by ear, just wherever he is on the pitch? What would be the plan, do you think?
Well, I think as far as that is concerned, then you have to sort of see how the contacts, the coming together, let's call it the comings together, let's go between Amati and Faes. But you've got to be smart, as we were talking about it, and I say you can't always go into the physical battle with him, because he will hold the ball up, he will shrug you off, he will bring players into the game. It's what about what happens after that? That's the most important thing, and that's where the players have to be really switched on, i.e. the two centre halves. Whether or not when the ball is in a wide area, one of the centre halves locks onto him and one does a covering job, you can do that, but the communication has to be absolutely key in that, Dan. Otherwise it all falls apart. It's as simple as that. Or do you say to Amati and Faes, right, as soon as the ball goes right, whatever back post he pulls onto, because he'll pull onto the back post, whatever side the ball, and he'll pull onto the back post, then you have to get your body in a position to challenge. You might not be able to win the ball, but you've got to stop him from scoring, which again is vitally important. You've got to box clever with this guy.
Thank you very much then, Jerry. That was fascinating insight then into how to deal with Alexander Mitrovic this evening, who's scored all those goals, hasn't he, in the last couple of seasons. He, of course, starts for Fulham tonight. Let's get a quick recap of all the team news this evening if you are just joining us. here on Matchday Live on LCFC TV. Leicester go with Danny Ward in goal, Luke Thomas, Wout Faes, Daniel Amati and Timothy Castagna at the back four. Buba Samare, Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall and Yuri Tielemans in midfield, with Jamie Vardy supported either side by Harvey Barnes and Jose Perez. From a travelling Fulham point of view, they have Bernd Leno in goal, the back four of Robinson, Ream, Tosin Adarabioyo and Kenny Teti. Polinia and Reid in midfield, with Willian, Reid and Pereira behind that man Alexander Mitrovic, who, as we've been speaking about, has fired Fulham back into the Premier League and then up to 8th in the Premier League right now. And Brendan Rodgers was asked what he's made of their season so far.
Well, they've had a really good start, obviously, to the season. They invested well in their squad and they've had that confidence from coming up. So. And they'll be buoyed by their last away game. So, but for us, really, it's a bit focusing on ourselves. We'll analyse them closely over these next couple of days. But yeah, we'll look forward to that now.
What can you do in 4 days? Will you be out on the pitch, or is it about recovery for the next week?
Mostly about recovery. You can't be too intense. I think a lot of the analysis work that you do, and you show the players, and like you say, you recover them, and then you can do some lighter active work on the field before the game.
What frustration is it for you, Glenn? Because obviously you went into the break for the World Cup with 4 straight victories, you've come out of it with 2 straight defeats, and the momentum has obviously been hot in that.
Yeah, and that's something that can happen. I think I was much happier tonight. We lose the game, of course. You're never happy to lose, but it was a little bit more like us tonight. I think that was unexpected, our start against Newcastle, and there was a real disappointment for us for that. But we've come here, we've showed a really good reaction. I don't think anyone can argue we shouldn't have taken something from the game, and we had spells in the game where we played some good football and defended strong. So now, we're moving into 2023. So we want to get ourselves into the top half of the league as quickly as we can, and then once you do that, then you can look forward. So now it's about looking to win our next game.
What confidence as well then do you take from the fact that you've got that response from the players against them?
Yeah, I don't have any doubt, Vinny, about the squad, the team. They're great guys. They've always done that. They're an honest group of players. So whatever they lack in terms of quality or that at any time, they certainly make up for it in effort and endeavour. And then we'll see where we finish at the end of the season. But they will continue to fight, to work hard. I'm disappointed for them tonight, because you come to a great arena like this here and you want to start well and get yourself in the game, and they did that. But unfortunately, that little block of 7 minutes cost us. So, but they'll go again. They're good guys.
A couple of minutes, Tony, before we hand over to the commentary team. So, final sort of thoughts from you. What are you expecting tonight? We've spoken a lot about Fulham, the threats that they've got, but Leicester, we know they've got an awful lot of threats themselves.
Yeah, absolutely, and I'm sure Brendan will be in the dressing room there. We just heard from him; he was very upbeat after the game. Often you lost at Liverpool and you're down. He wasn't down. He was very upbeat about it. He was very pleased with the performance. So he'll go into this game. He'll G the players up. I don't think they'll need too much G'ing up anyway. I think they'll be looking forward to this game. But it's going to be, I think it's going to be a close game. You look at the way both teams are set up, very similar setups in terms of the formation. But Leicester have got good players. Getting the ball forward, give Jamie Vardy the support that he needs, and get Harvey Barnes on the ball, and probably just as importantly, Dewsbury-Hall, because he was outstanding against Liverpool. Give him the ball. When he gets the ball, he makes things happen. And if you get an informed Dewsbury-Hall, then I think we'll see a Leicester win tonight.
Hopefully so. What is your prediction, Tony? Just very quickly, finally, just a score prediction then.
I'm going to go 2-1, Dan.
2-1.
To Leicester.
Yeah, thought so. Matt, you said you were a little bit worried, semi-nervous ahead of the game tonight. So what's your prediction?
Not so much nervous, but I think Fulham are a good side in good form. I think it's going to be a real even game. I'm going to go for both teams to score, as Jerry said the other night, 2 each. I know it's not what people want to hear. I want to see the win, obviously, But I think it's going to be a good match-up tonight.
Yep, you can hear absolutely all of the action here live from King Power Stadium on LCFC Radio, of course. Stay tuned after this short break to hear live commentary with Jerry Taggart and John Dunn.
Because memories never fade, no matter how long. We'll still remember the moments of excitement and the impressions of Thailand. Amazing Thailand, now even more amazing.
biết Sài Gòn.
Chang Beer. We brew friendship.
Good evening and Happy New Year as Leicester City players and fans prepare for the first game of 2023. Fulham are the opposition. The Cottagers starting the year in 8th position in the Premier League. After another promotion back to the top flight, they start today 3 points off 6th spot. And after a great run of form towards the end of the year for Brendan Rodgers' City side, they start tonight just below the midpoint in the table and looking to get back to winning ways after successive league defeats. King Power Stadium is set, supporters trickling through the entrances and finding their seats. Flags already been waved around the stadium, looking to build the atmosphere ahead of this Premier League tie. And Jerry Taggart alongside us, we've already talked about that marvellous pass on the big screen in a previous game against Fulham, as we see Walshy stick another one in, but you've made it onto the big screen at last, Jerry. You've been asking for a number of years. Finally, Fulham are the lucky charm that's brought you on.
I can't even remember playing that ball. I couldn't even remember it, so no one was more surprised than me when I seen it on there, to be honest, Joe.
Fulham tonight, mentioned those back-to-back defeats for the Foxes. We were there at Anfield and it still feels so cruel because they deserve more from it. We feel for Wout Faes, he's the cover star of the programme tonight. That was already kind of in mind before he put the 2 own goals in. But and there shouldn't be any pressure on him because of the performance he's put in, but he might just feel it a little bit tonight. And I think we mentioned at Anfield, almost like a goalkeeper, a couple of early touches, steadying himself down and getting him back to his
yeah, I think it's difficult anyway, just to erase it from your memory. You know, when scoring one own goal is bad enough, you know, in the fashion that it was scored, but to score 2, you just don't erase that from your memory straight away. So yeah, there is a chance that it will be playing on his mind, but as you rightly say, once you get out onto the pitch and get into the swing of things, the law of averages tell you that own goals don't come about, you know, too often in your career. So hopefully, you know, once the game gets started and he you know, he gets into the match, then that's when that sad and sorrow memory will be well and truly put to bed.
And for Wout Vass and for all the players really, it's almost looking back to the games before Liverpool, before Newcastle, remembering the good things that got Leicester on that great run, keeping clean sheets, and almost proving Newcastle was a blip here at King Power Stadium, start the year on a high.
Yeah, I think you're correct there. You know, first game back, not great. The start wasn't great. The middle bit wasn't great, and the finish wasn't great. And every now and again, it takes a game like that just to remind yourself, you know, who you are and where you are and why you are where you are in the league. So the performance, if not the result against Liverpool, was a lot better. And that's got to be, you know, that's got to be the mainstay between now and the end of the season, that level of performance. It can't afford to drop below that level of performance at least. Okay, we can sit here and scratch our heads about the result against Liverpool. You know, Liverpool didn't score a goal and still won the game. You know, that's the biggest head scratcher for me. So, yeah, you've just got to go out and make sure your performance levels are where you left off against Liverpool. And if they are, then you're giving yourself a chance.
We've had some late team news, a late change. Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall has been injured for Leicester in the warm-up, so it means that Wilfred Ndidi, who was going to start the game on the bench, he did start at Liverpool, will begin tonight's game here against Fulham. And as of yet, we're yet to have it confirmed if Leicester can add another player to the bench to replace Ndidi. Not sure if you've ever been through this in your career, Jerry, where there is a late change to the 11, and how does it change the dynamic? Ndidi and Dewsbury-Hall, different players.
Absolutely different players. You know, Dewsbury-Hall in good form. We just heard Tony Cotty in the pre-match show talking about him, the performance. So yeah, it's, you know, you've got Bouba Samari now, Wilfred Ndidi, so maybe it shores things up a little bit, which could work in Leicester's way. But as far as the attacking prowess is concerned, and this is no disrespect to Wilfred Ndidi, because we know he's capable of scoring a goal, but you are taking something away with that driving force that Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall gives you. So that's a big blow, I have to say.
Does that free up Bouba Samari a little bit, maybe? He may have played the deeper role of that three. Does he move forward and he tries to take on the Dewsbury-Hall
role? Probably. You'd have to say that, you know. He's not averse to making a couple of, you know, barnstorming runs forward with the ball. So somebody's got to take the mantle up when Leicester are moving forward. So yeah, maybe there's a quick chat in the dressing room before the game about rules, a role reversal for Bouba Samari. We'll have to wait and see how that pans out.
The other change, of course, sees Jamie Vardy return. He's been used sparingly this season. Again, we saw a clip pre-match. He scored a couple of goals against Fulham to score his 99th and 100th Leicester goal. So he's in from the start with Patson Daka's injury. And again, he's not quite found his scoring boots this season. He'll relish his chances this evening.
Yeah, you know, he's done well in the League Cup, hasn't he? But as far as the league's concerned, as you say, probably not played as many minutes as he probably would have liked, but he can't go on forever, Jamie Vardy. He's got nothing to prove to anybody at this football club, or to anybody, full stop. You know, so he's probably relishing the thought of playing tonight. He knows he can score against a team like Fulham. And obviously you've got Iheanacho on the bench who can come on, and they'll probably change Jimmy after about an hour, 65 minutes, something like that there. So Jimmy knows he's not going to play the 90 minutes tonight. So he's got a 2/3 of a game, you know, to try and make his mark against Fulham.
Lots of talk about Fulham pre-match with yourself, Matt, and TC with Dan, but they've kind of maybe got the formula right this time. They've been up, they've been down, they've done it again, and this time, maybe third time lucky, they've started the season on fire, flying Fulham, 3 points off 6th position, so they're really looking at the table and fancying a run to Europe. I
tell you what, you know, I was a bit sceptical when they brought Willian in, but I tell you, he must have made a massive difference for them, because like you say, it seems that they've, instead of going out and buying a whole load of players that no one had ever heard of, and you know, a couple of seasons ago and going straight back down without as much as a whimper, to now have brought one or two little bits of experience, little bit of quality in there, not going gun-ho in the transfer market, stuck with a lot of the players that they had. They've got a couple of lads there, well, a few lads apart from Mitrovic, the two US lads who featured in the World Cup, very capable players as well. So going for it, they've got a good mixture. And that experience is, you know, from the last couple of seasons where they've been up and down, you know, has kept them in good state so far this season. So fair play to them.
Please welcome your Leicester City side.
For the first time in 2023, Leicester City take to the field here at King Power Stadium in the Premier League. Fulham are the opposition as City look towards the new year with both cup competitions up for grabs and looking to get back to winning ways and improving upon the record of 6 wins in the last 9 games in all competitions. Fulham start the evening 3 points off 6th position in the top flight. They've won their last 2 in the league, but these are the only 2 wins from their last 5 league outings. We'll have those back-to-back wins. The last one for the Foxes was a few days ago at Anfield against Liverpool. It was a 2-1 defeat, and there are 2 changes to the Leicester 11 that started that game. Patson Daka ruled out due to injury. Jamie Vardy is in for him, and Keenan Dewsbury-Hall has picked up an injury during the warm-up tonight. So Wilfred Ndidi, who would have started the game, continues in the 11. Yuri Tillemans, who was a sub at Liverpool, does come in. He starts. So it's Morning goal. Castagna and Marti, Fass and Thomas as a defence. Tillemans, Samare and Ndidi in midfield, with Barnes and Jose Perez either side of Vardy. For Fulham, just the one change. They beat Southampton 2-1 a few days ago to end their festive football campaign. Isa Diop moves to the bench. Tosin Adarabioyo comes in. So it's Leno in goal. Tete, Adarabioyo, Ream and Robinson is the defence. Reed and Polina, Harrison Reed and Polina, the 2 holding players in midfield. Then it's Decordova, Reed, Pereira, Willian in support of their leading goal scorer. 10 Premier League goals this season for Mitrovic, who is up front. And he is the man that Leicester will need to stop Jerry. A frightening record since the start of last season. 53 goals in 58 games. Like Fulham in a way, he's got to grips of the Premier League, which he failed to do so in previous years.
Yeah, I was going to say, you know, he was probably no one more disappointed than Mitrovic. You know, the 2 previous seasons that he's been in the Premier League with him, you know, he's been a proven goal scorer last season and also this season. So as you said, Fulham have found a way of helping him getting on the score sheet. He doesn't do it all on his own, we know that. He relies on service. So what does that tell you? They've increased the quality, in particular Fulham, and on that service to the likes of Mitrovic to get him on the score sheet. So difficult game this tonight. This is as Matty said, it's a good matchup between these 2 teams. Leicester obviously missing a couple of star players now, not just one but a couple in the start up to this game.
Players going through their final stretches. Yuri Tillemans, the Leicester skipper, tonight starting after being a sub at Liverpool, goes around his midfield teammates initially, then he goes and gives all of the back 4 a high five, including fellow Belgian Wout Fass. And Wilfred Ndidi is the final player. And I suppose for Ndidi as well, Jody, we talked about the other players. Ndidi coming in, he will have a totally different mindset all of a sudden that you're now starting the game, but you were preparing to be a sub.
Yeah, but I think you prepare the same way. Obviously, you don't do the little passing, the little keep ball drills, the same as the players in the middle do to get you used to the ball from the start. But other than that, you know, you always prepare it exactly the same way as the starting 11 do, so that won't take too much away from his game.
It is Fulham in their white shirts and black shorts who will get us underway. Leicester in all royal blue, kicking towards the family stand in the first half. Danny Ward all in black in front of the Kop ends. The flags that were flying now placed on the ground. The Leicester fans, the Blue Army, making one last noise, clapping their cold hands